It's 17 degrees. It's time for a fire. Oh, look, we've still got a bit of aluminium can. It would probably help to have that in the. Probably help it in the middle. Anyway. And it's another aluminium can. The same one from before. Okay, that's enough of a poke. Give it a riddle. That's heavy. I got curious to see, like, the ultimate road trip. I suppose other people would say, well, the ultimate road trip would be somewhere in Alaska to somewhere in Chile. But my example of the ultimate road trip would be going from going west to Wales, like Anglesey, and then from Anglesey going through to the east of England to Dover, going through France, Germany, Poland, Belarus, Russia, driving all the way through Russia until you end up in Murmansk. No, not Murmansk. Madagan, which is on the east coast, quite north. And I was looking at it, and certainly, like the town centre, it's a bit run down. They got the commie blocks, as they call them, and paint's peeling off of the thing, and reviews for the various shops saying, "Oh, food wasn't very fresh here. Staff are lazy and incompetent," which is just, that's what the locals are saying. But some parts of it, like I look at it and thought, I could live like that. Small Russian towns, to me, look like just get on with it, build your house however you see fit, and get on with it. And I like that. I'm sure there's other countries, maybe there's parts of rural Japan that look like that, although generally the Japanese are a bit more neat and tidy. But it turns out that the a road trip between there and there is about 8,000 miles. And I just like the idea. You've chosen your vehicle for your road trip, and it's like, right, okay, you start off. You're in the middle of England because you live in, I don't know, Derbyshire or somewhere, and you've driven all the way to Anglesey and gone, right, well, that was enough of a road trip. It's like, what are you talking about? You've only done 200 miles. Now I'll do the other 8,000. Oh, and unless you're planning on selling your car in Madagan, you got to, or whatever it is you're driving, you then got to drive it back. Possibly, maybe, it'd be better to start it off in France, by a Peugeot or something, and because then you'll have a left-hand drive. Oh, my firelighter's gone to the side. Oh, bugger. I'll put that sticker on top of it there. And yeah. Yeah, that'll be fun. No, it's quite nice sort of looking at like the various roads you take, and in order to get to the next town, you got to go through a town, and you'd have to plan all the fuel stops, and well, due to the current situation, probably wouldn't be allowed to do it. But in times gone past, like 10 years ago, you could have just said, well, here's my itinerary. I'm planning to drive this Peugeot from France to Madagan in when I go there, sell it, and then buy a plane ticket back to France or England or wherever it is you live. I think that would be a cool road trip. But then you know, it's like yeah, I've driven from Western Europe. You've been from Brest in Western France all the way to the east coast of Russia, and I don't know. Maybe say, oh, I'm going to take the ferry. Is there a ferry from Russia to Japan? There is an airport in Madigan, but I don't know if it's an international or if it's just a domestic one. So maybe it's like you get flights from Madigan to Irkutsk, and then from Irkutsk you get maybe more flights because Irkutsk looks like a fairly big eastern city. Very pretty, some parts of it. There's it obviously depends when the satellite footage was taken, but looking on Google Maps, when they were doing the aerial or satellite photography of the Jewish Autonomous Oblast, it must have been spring because it was just this beautiful shade of emerald. It was absolutely gorgeous. I look at that sort of land and just think to myself, like, it's it is absolutely beautiful. It really sort of strikes me like, why is it so desolate? Why don't people live there? I mean, you've got, I know it's cold, but then again, apart from the bits of Russia near Kazakhstan, it's all cold. So and you've got people living much further north than this part here. So I just look at it and think, why aren't people living there? You just say, look, they're gonna. Well, I suppose it's political will, and it's like, well, yes, you can go there, but there's no jobs, and so unless you're prepared to live like Ray Mears and maybe organise the importation of sheep, you're living as a subsistence farmer. There's no market for your product, so there's no real way to generate wealth. So it'd have to be done politically. It'd have to be like, look, we're going to pay you to live here. And from what I see with the with how the oil and gas fields were done in Russia, that's how it was done. So they had the oil fields to the west of the country, and then they moved further into Siberia, and so they encouraged their engineers with experience and know-how to move there by paying them generous wages. So it would have to be done politically, but if things were different, I'd almost say Russia should be encouraging immigration. It should be saying to people of the world, if you think you can make it in here, we'll give you seeds, we'll give you tools, and you can go into the eastern part of the country and build it up. And then when you've got a few people with the homesteads, maybe you can say, right, we're gonna build roads here and do sewage and phone lines. I don't know, it'd be tricky. It would be tricky. But there's large parts of North America which are desolate like that as well. Hardly anybody lives there. A lot warmer too, more arid. Maybe that's the problem. And yet you've got countries like sort of Northern Europe, really, the Benelux region, where it's so densely packed you can't even spit without hitting somebody. I don't know what I started thinking. But, oh yeah, that's it. I was just looking at the on what roads would I take if I was going to go from west to east, and Ah, yes. So my computer's just gone into screensaver mode, and it's decided that the graphics card is gonna. I can hear the. It's got these little induction coils in them, and they're really hissing quite loudly. So I'm playing Banished. I'm trying this new thing called the Mega Mod, which has Colonial Charter as long as some other things. And trying it out, it's got what has it got? So now because it's in screensaver mode, yeah, it's gone crazy. Come on, fire! Oh yeah, let's open up that as well. We got a fire, but I'm cold and my feet are cold. So yeah, road trip. I think, what sort of vehicle would you want to do a road trip? It's got to be comfortable, something with good suspension. And some of the modern, I say modern Peugeots from the past 20 years, which counts as modern to me, they've got comfortable suspension. So probably that. And yeah, just drive it. Just go along, drive, and maybe after 5,000 miles, swap the oil over, put a new filter in. No. If you're doing an 8,000 mile trip, you get service before and after. But can't do that now. Just I don't think the and even if you did sort of say to the Russian government, look, I'm not a spy. I really want to do this road trip. My intention is the car, van, bus, whatever it is you're driving. I'm going to sell it when I end up at Magdagan, and then fly out. What would the local Russians be like? Because from what I've spoken to, they're quite cold with outsiders. They're until they get to know you, and if you're just travelling through, they'll never get to know you. So it's going to be a. Plus, as well, you'd sort of want to get on with it. So your experience is just going to be sitting in the car, going into petrol stations, sitting in the car. Although I'd definitely want to go and stop at Lake Baklay. It's this freshwater lake in the east of Russia. Got some very clear waters and a bit of a tourist trap. So certainly nice to see in summer. The other road trip I always thought would be like starting off in Alaska or northern Canada and then going through and ending up in Chile, but you can't actually do a road trip of that because there's parts of Central America it connects to South America and it's impassable terrain. There aren't any roads there. And it was one of those things I thought, why didn't horses emigrate south during the Ice Age? Because there were horses in North America. Then they died out until the European pilgrims brought them with them. And they say, oh, it's because of the Ice Age. But it must have been geography as well. So surely you'd have seen horses in Mexico. I guess there wasn't enough foliage. Who knows? For whatever reason, horses died out. But they would have never gotten to South America because of this absolutely impassable terrain. So I guess it's all just, if you're living in, let me remind myself, is it Peru? Where's, oh, it's my first bookmark, Google Maps. So I'm just looking at the maps now. So it's Colombia and then Panama. So let's say I want to go from Bogota to Mexico City. So I'll just go directions and say I want to go to Mexico City, right? And I want to go by car. And it says, sorry, we cannot calculate driving directions from Mexico City to Bogota in Colombia. Uh, there are roads, but yeah, it just seems like in Panama, the road ends up in a place called, what is that place called? Yavasia. And then after that, nope, just mountains. There's, bloody hell, yeah. The thing is, though, there are other places where roads go through mountains. I mean, Switzerland and Italy and all that. So I'm guessing it's political will. Political will? Maybe it's also a case of financing, like, hey, what do you want to go to Panama for? So, yeah. So you couldn't do a road trip from Canada to Chile. Actually, it's Chile. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. But this idea that you got to start pronouncing countries as the foreigners do. Well, you know, is it France or is it France? Is it Germany or is it Deutschland? Is it Spain or España? Oh, and that's another thing as well. Like, are you going to pronounce it like a Spaniard would do it, with the lisp there King Louis did? Or is it King Philippe? Who knows? Or are you going to pronounce Spain, España, like the non-Spanish would pronounce it? So, you know, are you going to pronounce France as a Parisienne, or are you going to pronounce it as a Marseillaise? So, you know, no. Canada, Chile. If you know why there are no roads between Panama and Colombia, please write in the comments below. I would like to know. Why is there no link between Central and South America? Is there no trade going on? Do the Colombians and the Panamanians not want to trade with one another, or is it just done with ports and ferries or planes? What's going on? I don't understand. Why is there no train links? Why can't I get a train in Brazil and then end up in Seattle or something? Well, why is that not exist? Like, you know, oh, it's winter in Seattle. I'm going on holiday, and rather than taking a plane where I'm all sort of cramped up, I'm going to take the train, and it's going to take 2 or 3 days to get there, but it's all right. Got a nice sleeper cab, and the food's good. And you get to see some interesting scenery, you know, going from forests, deserts, jungle, and then ending up, and it's like, right, you're in Brazil. I think that'd be pretty cool, but, you know, I like trains, so I like the idea that you can just walk around on the train and you got all this different scenery, and you've got a dining cab and a shower cab, and also the logistics of that is interesting, because like if you're you know going like a cab which has got baths and such, you're going to need potable water. How do you load up water into a train? I'm interested in logistics, which is why I use a lorry driver. Although I'm between lorry driving jobs at the moment. If you know any decent lorry driving jobs, let me know. And when I say decent, I don't mean 5 a.m. starts. I've had lorry drivers tell me that oh, it's great. This job's got a 3 a.m. start, and then you got the rest of the day to yourself. It's like, yeah, but if it's a 3 a.m. start, all right, let's say I lived in the yard, 3 a.m. start, lived in the yard. So I'm waking up at 3 a.m. I'm not dressed yet. So I've got to get dressed and then, everything else. But let's say I'm waking up at 3 a.m., getting my clothes on, showering and all that. So effectively by about 4 in the morning, I'm ready to do my walk round check and get my manifest and all that. Alright, so it's a 3 a.m. start. You got to be there in the yard, doing your walk round check, getting your manifest at 3 a.m. That means you're waking up at 2 in the morning. So if you're waking up at 2 in the morning and you need 8 hours sleep, I know some people say, oh, I get on at 6 hours. I need 8 hours sleep. So I've got to be asleep, not in bed, but asleep by 6 p.m. Oh, you got the rest of the day for yourself, mate. You start at 3 and then you finish at 5 p.m. You got the rest of the day to yourself. Right, I got to get to sleep by 6. That's not my idea of a great job, that is. You barely got time to have a shower. I remember once getting told off because it's like, why did that job take you so long? Well, I need the toilet. I mean, if I'm working for 12 hours a day, that time when my free time when I normally be taking a dump, I've got to do that whilst I'm working. I've got to have my dinner during the work. It's like, oh, you were parked up at McDonald's for 40 minutes. Like, yeah, 45-minute break. So I was in there for 40 minutes. And then walking back for 5 minutes. And that's my 45-minute break. Yeah. I knew going into it, lorry driving had this stuff for long hours and such. But I genuinely was hoping it was going to improve. I was quite naive. Oh well, never mind. I've got the qualifications. If anybody needs a lorry driven, I can do it. And I can even do it for hire and reward because I've got my driver's CPC. Let's make Greta Thunberg say how dare you and burn some plastic. I'll just put it to the side. Burn some more plastic, that's thermal paper. Shouldn't be touching that stuff. Often these days, if they insist on giving me the receipt, I'll open up the bag and I'll just pop it in there. Or if they sort of throw it towards me, I was like, no, I don't want that. I don't need to pick it up. I don't need an itemised list. I'm not that interested in what the prices of various things were. I saw that when I picked them off of the shelf. Of course, there's always a thing, you can't return an item without the receipt. So there is that. I think this needs another stick or two. It's been a bit of a ramble today. Sorry about that. I do like the idea of going on the road trip. Well, I don't know any of these languages. Mind you, I suppose Google Translate does it. I know that Russian for petrol is benzin, and nozovi is pump. Benzin nozovi. Oh, I've forgotten what please is. I know thank you is spasiba. But yeah. Yeah, I would struggle so bad. Oh, well, it's an interesting thing to think. Oh, how would I do it? And you'd want to do it as a team as well, share the driving. But I think that'd be great fun. Plus, I mean, it would make a great story as well. It's just like, yes, I've driven one of the longest west to east paths that you can, and yeah, great stuff. I think this is going to get going now, so goodbye.